Digitization has made every service just a touch away. Estonia is the first country to offer e-Residency, a government-issued digital identity available to anybody from anywhere in the world that gives access to e-services that have helped to power the Republic of Estonia for decades. Startups Club Services is the official partner in India for the e-Residency Global Initiative from the Republic of Estonia. Delegates from the e-Residency team flew down for the Demo Day 2018. Please do take time off to connect with them at the Business Experience Center. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is the Head of Public Relations of the Republic of Estonia and e-Residency program. Please put your hands together and let's welcome our next speaker, Mr. Arnaud. He is a board member of Open Diplomacy, a Paris-based think tank established in 2010, and a member of the Young Transatlantic Network of Future Leaders, a flagship initiative of the German Marshall Fund of the United States, specifically geared towards young professionals, 35 years old and younger. We are proud to welcome him on stage, and today he will be talking to you all about digitization and future of e-governance, Estonia leading by example. Please put your hands together and let's welcome on stage Mr. Arnaud.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello, everybody. I hope you had a good lunch. I hope you're feeling good. It's always very good to speak right after the lunch break because people are really quiet, they're a bit sleepy, and it's actually a good thing because I'm going to talk about government and administration. So please, I will not be offended if you have a nap or if you just want to relax where I'm speaking. It's not going to be too long. As you probably already noticed from my accent, I'm French. I am French. But I'm working for the government of Estonia for the e-Residency program. Before explaining you what e-Residency is and where Estonia is, how many of you have already heard about e-Residency? Okay, good to know that Startups Club have heard about it. Okay, so I'm going to explain you the very basics and how Estonia became e-Estonia and became what is now called the most digitally advanced society in the world by Wired. But before this, I will tell you a few words about myself, because that's the topic I know the most. And I will tell you a bit more about the connection I already had with India in the past. So this is me. Maybe you recognize someone behind me. I'm talking about the French president, François Hollande. So before joining the government of Estonia, I was working for the former French president, François Hollande. And I already had a few connections with India because I was part of the famous state visit to India in 2016, which is now becoming famous again in the Indian news recently. So I already had a very strong connection with India. So as I said, I'm French. I moved from one government to work for another government of Estonia. So what made a French guy like me go to Estonia in a freezing country with only, in which it's right now dark from, it's dark pretty much the entire day actually because it's wintertime. So what made a French guy like me go to work for another government in order to build this e-Residency program and e-Estonia? First, let's start with the basics. Estonia is here. So it's very cold, of course. It's a Nordic country. It's just in the south of Finland, which doesn't mean that we have a warmer temperature. So it's in Northern Europe. We have only 1,300,000 inhabitants, which makes it probably 20 times smaller than Delhi, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a very small country. Not that small, actually. We are bigger than Luxembourg, and we are bigger than the Netherlands. But having said that, we don't have a lot of inhabitants. And to be quite fair, it's totally understandable if people, for a very long time, has mistaken us and thought that we were talking about Latvia or Lithuania, or even sometimes we've been described as a former Soviet Union country, which is not exactly accurate, because our history is much older than what we thought. First of all, the country became independent in 1918. However, we got occupied by the Soviet Union, and we actually regained our independence in 1991. I don't want to give you any history lesson, but it's important to know that it's kind of a young country, which means that after spending so much time behind the Iron Walls and behind the occupation of Soviet Union, now we realize that we lost some time, and we really want to go fully global, and we want to be integrated with the rest of the world. So our currency is the euro, as most of you already know. We are part of the European Union, we are part of NATO, part of World Trade Organization, OECD, and also the Digital 7 organization of the most advanced digital countries in the world. Our ICT sector represents 2% of our GDP, and actually we can say, based on the interaction we have with other governments in the world, we can say that we have a digital leadership. But what does digital leadership mean? It's not about technology, because technology in itself and innovation in itself is meaningless if it doesn't serve a purpose. And in our case, as a government, our purpose is to better serve individuals. So we built this digital administration, but we have also very business-friendly economic policies in order to make sure that many Estonians can become e-resident, and many of them can develop a clear expertise on tech and innovation. And also, last but not the least, we have a private sector that is extremely innovative as well. Our country basically has the same number of unicorns as France, but France has 66 million inhabitants. Maybe you've heard about Skype, maybe you've heard about TransferWise, you heard about Taxify, Playtech, a gaming company. Those 4 companies are Estonian unicorns, and they have been created in Estonia thanks to the imaginative mindsets of the Estonian entrepreneurs. But the building of this digital society hasn't been done in only 1 year or 2. Actually, the timeline of Estonia is much longer, and it took us almost 20 years to build this digital society. It started with the tax board, because of course we know that in every country, filing tax obligation is always an issue. It's always an harassment for anyone, whether you're an entrepreneur or not. So it's one of the first things that we digitalized in 2000. Then in 2001, we launched this innovation called X-Road, which ensures the accessibility of data from one administration to another. This is thanks to this technology and thanks to this infrastructure that actually in Estonia, the administration will never ask you twice for the same information during your entire year. If you give the information once, it's going to be accessible forever. 2002, we launched our digital ID card, which is something that you're going to hear more about in a couple of minutes, and the digital signature, which is very important. In Estonia, no one asks you for any paperwork. We don't ask you to sign any document using handwritten signature. It doesn't make sense for us. Why? Because with the digital signature, Estonia actually is saving the equivalent of 2% of its GDP compared to handwritten signature. 2% of its GDP, to put it in different ways, is the equivalent of our military budget. So we sometimes say that we have our army for free thanks to the fact that we are a digital society. Then, in 2005, we launched the iVoting. So in Estonia, you can vote online for elections using your digital ID card. It's a first in the world. Whether you can be in the old town of Tallinn, or you can be in sitting on a beach in Goa, you can still participate to the Estonian elections using your digital ID card. So far, 30% of the population uses the digital ID card to vote, but at each election we see that this is growing. So the timeline of e-Estonia would be even longer, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Important milestone in 2008, we launched what we call the Chiesa blockchain technology, which made us the first government in the world and first administration to use blockchain technology. We use it particularly to ensure the integrity of our data. So all of the health records, for instance, the integrity is ensured thanks to the use of this blockchain technology. We know that everything is consigned and everything is traceable, which makes sure that people can really trust the government so that there's no misuse of the personal data. In Estonia, the question of personal data is extremely important. Each citizen knows exactly which civil servant has checked which of their personal data. And if we think that it's not legitimate, then you can fill a complaint, you can fill a form, and there have been some cases in which people got sued because they were checking personal data of the citizens for no reason. Then we developed very different services through the years, so that now we can say that we developed this digital society. Every Estonian resident or citizen has an electronic ID card. 99% of the services are online and accessible, and you can create your startup, sell your car, vote from anywhere in the world, actually, even if you're sitting like the people behind me, if you're sitting in an Estonia. As I said, there are 99% of services that are accessible online in Estonia. So we can say that almost everything can be done online, apart from three things. You cannot get married, you cannot get divorced, and you cannot buy your property. It's not due to technological restrictions. We could definitely do it if you wanted to. It's not complicated. However, we still believe that marriage is an important thing, and it's too important to be done digitally. We still believe it's important to meet the person you're going to marry. And regarding divorce, obviously, we don't want people that, I don't know, after a huge argument with your partner, you would go home and say, oh, I know exactly what's going to piss him off. I'm going to divorce online. We want to avoid this kind of private drama, so we don't want people to get married or divorced online. But apart from these things and real estate transactions, you do everything online in Estonia, which makes our society a great place to experiment new ideas. This is why Estonia is known for its first country to launch the e-Residency program, but also the first country to legalize ride-sharing apps, the first country to launch first self-driving buses in July 2017. So when Estonia got the presidency of the European Council, world leaders could use, and journalists could use, self-driving buses to go from the airport to the main venues. The government is also right now working on a new legislation in order to give a legal status to robots, which will make Estonia, again, the first country in the world to do this, to regulate artificial intelligence. So given that we are a small country, and given that the private sector is very innovative, and the government is really wants to understand the needs of the private sector, we make Estonia the best playground in order to test and launch new and innovative ideas. We like to believe that it's thanks to that that we have very good ratings around the world. We are the first country in terms of tax competitiveness, according to the OECD. It doesn't mean that we are tax havens. There are some countries in the world in which taxation is lower. However, by tax competitiveness, we mean that the taxation must be easy to understand for everyone. Because when it's about businesses or any kind of individual, you need to know what is going to happen. You need to know what taxes you're going to pay. And this is why we had a very simple taxation system for people living in Estonia or whose company create value in Estonia. We're also described as being the most entrepreneurial country in the world according to World Economic Forum. I could spend more time describing all of these ratings, but the main message I want to say is that basically Estonia is an innovative country, and it's actually a very good place to do business. Which is why in 2014, we had to think about how to make all these advantages better known around the world, and how to generate more benefits and more value in Estonia thanks to this. So we had this innovation, which was not at all a technological innovation. It's an innovation in mindset. We had to think about how to put our country in the map. Finland had Nokia, Sweden had IKEA, and we had this digital society, but we had to make it better known internationally. So we launched e-Residency in December 2014. E-Residency is a digital ID card available for anyone from anywhere in the world, which allow people to access and use Estonian e-services. And the main motivation, as we see it, is the possibility to create a company in Estonia. Because in Estonia, as everything is done digitally, Company creation only takes a couple of minutes, sometimes a couple of hours, but everything can be done digitally. You can be sitting in your home, and you create a company, and you can then manage and run it fully online from anywhere in the world. Our program is based on 4 core values. First of all, as I said, anyone from anywhere in the world is legitimate to apply. So we are fully inclusive, and this is something extremely important. We don't judge people based on their nationality. We don't judge people based on where they live or where they decided to travel. We believe that what matters the most is the ID, is the business, is the product. So you can be from India, of course, but you can be from Germany, from Iraq, from anywhere in the world, wherever. You are legitimate to apply for e-Residency program. Which doesn't mean that we're going to give you the digital ID card directly, of course, because the second value is that we're legitimate. So we give you a real digital identity done by the government of Estonia. So we want to make sure that people who become e-resident are fully legitimate. We don't want anyone to have been involved in money laundering or anything. We want them to become e-residents, which is why all of the residents need to undergo background check by the Ministry of Interior in order to make sure that only legitimate people become e-residents. But to be fair, only less than 1% of applications have been rejected so far, so we assume that people do it for good reasons. Third core value, we are fully transparent. All of the residents know what is done with their personal data, and also all of the information regarding residency companies are accessible online, which again makes e-residence a great place for people doing legitimate business. And fourth, but not the least, we are empowering. By offering e-residency, we want to democratize the access to entrepreneurship. Very often we see that the first barrier to entrepreneurship can be bureaucracy, can be administration, can be the lack of access to very basic services like PayPal or this kind of tools that are needed to make your business grow. So with e-residency, we provide the same access to European markets, to European single market. We provide also the same access to financial services and all the tools needed as you have any Estonian company. So you can be considered as part of our digital nation, even if you don't have the Estonian nationality. So far, our program has been quite successful. We attracted 50,000 e-residents coming from 157 countries around the world. As you see behind me, India is in the top 10, actually. We have more than 2,000 e-residents coming from India. And in total, e-residents have created 6,000 companies, 6,000 Estonian companies, because again, people who create companies thanks to e-residency create Estonian companies. Regarding India, so as I said, it's number 9 worldwide. It's number 3 in Asia in terms of number of e-residents. But when it's about company creation, we see that it's the number 1 country in Asia, because we know that Indian people are very entrepreneurial. India has a lot of IT specialists who wants to have clients in America or in Europe or anywhere in the world. A lot of people also in India, of course, do e-commerce, and e-residency is particularly interesting for these people. So maybe some of you have heard about one of our most famous e-residents from India, Mukesh Ambani. I don't need to introduce him too much. He became e-resident when the economic minister of Estonia, the former economic minister of Estonia, Uwe Palo, came on an official visit to India. He became e-resident, which doesn't mean that we expect him to move the HQ of Reliance to Estonia or to do this, but it's a great acknowledgement of how innovative our country is and how inspiring e-residency can be. But we have other stories as well, and not everyone is as famous, as successful, and as rich as Mr. Ambani. So I will just mention 2 examples. One of them is Deepak Solanki. Deepak Solanki has created Velmini, which is developing Li-Fi technology. And he's an e-resident, but he's living in Delhi. And thanks to e-residency, he manages his company fully online from India, but he can also apply for some grants from the European Commission, the Horizon 2020 Innovation Grant from the EC. And given that he created an Estonian company, he can apply for these grants. But now his business is anyway extremely successful, whether he has or not this grant. And among his notable clients, we can mention Airbus or Air France. So very big European companies, because Estonia cannot be really considered as a market with only 1.5 million inhabitants. However, e-Residency gives people access to 500 million inhabitants of the European Union. And I will only mention another example. I will not spend too much time on stories, but it's a great example. It's Renora. Very often, people assume that e-Residency is about technology only, but we actually can solve many issues faced by very diverse range of entrepreneurs worldwide. Renora, maybe you've heard about it, maybe you actually met them because they are the ones doing the shampoos just in the business area. And it's a great example because thanks to e-Residency, they incorporated a company in Estonia, thanks to Startup Scrub, our support team in India. And now they can potentially export their vegan and organic shampoos to Europe. So they will not only focus on India as a market, even if it's a huge market, but they can also use Estonia as a base and as a gateway to access the entire European Union. So we wish them great luck, and given that some of you have already tested the shampoos, I'm pretty sure that you can probably give very good reviews about them. But this cooperation can be taken to the next level. And e-Residency is actually one piece of what Estonia has to offer to the rest of the world. Fortunately, we have a very innovative and very proactive embassy in Delhi. So the Estonian embassy is building this kind of connections with many places in India. Just to give you a few examples, Estonia and the government of Telangana has signed an MOU recently with the Estonian president and the local government in order to enhance cooperation on ICT, e-governance, and cybersecurity, because Estonia is known around the world also for the expertise in cybersecurity. Other discussions and meetings are going also with Assam government or with Karnataka, again to focus on ICT and particularly on B2B relations, because this is very important. With e-Residency, we also share Estonian digital society, but also business environment, and we also promote Estonian companies and try to build more connections between e-residents from everywhere in the world and Estonian ecosystem. Another important, interesting thing, Robotex India has sent 18 teams this year to Estonia to attend the Robotex conference in Estonia, which is the biggest conferences and competition for innovative startups doing robots. So we were very proud to see that so many Indian startups, and particularly Indian startups designed by young people or female entrepreneurs, so many of them came to Estonia to showcase their knowledge and their expertise. So we really see e-Residency as a first gateway, not only for businesses, but also to build these really strong connections with the rest of the world. Because ultimately, what we're doing with e-Residency is not only offering some service. We don't treat e-residents as customers, but we are building a large community of Estonia. We are a small country, 1.5 million inhabitants, but thanks to e-Residency, we connect with people from everywhere in the world. I could mention many different cases, whether Gabriel living in Brazil and who developed the most successful gaming company in Brazil, Cupcase. I could mention Arzu from Turkey, who's a tour guide, so nothing related to tech or innovation, but she created a company based in Estonia in order to be able to receive payments using PayPal. I could mention Andre from Ukraine. I could mention thousands of examples, because thanks to e-Residency, we solve concrete issues faced by entrepreneurs worldwide, and we bridge all of these people with Estonia and with Europe as a whole, because we really believe that in the future, people are becoming much more global, and we know that global citizens need inclusive identities, and they need to discuss with people whom they share values with. In some ways, it may sound very interesting and innovative that Estonia, the Estonian government that now serves citizens, but also residents, and also e-residents. But when you think about it, there's nothing so crazy about it. I mean, everywhere in the world, countries have tried to reach out with people who are not their citizens or residents. France uses a lot of culture and language in order to share the values with the rest of the world. Even India is sharing its culture to attract much more people to India and to build more connections. So in Estonia, we didn't have much resources to share. We don't have such a long story to share with the rest of the world, and our language is definitely too difficult to share to expect people to know Estonian everywhere in the world. However, we had this amazing asset, which is our digital society, and we know that these success stories can be shared with the rest of the world and can really improve these societies so that people can have equal access of opportunities no matter where they're from, and they can contribute and be part of our digital society. So if Estonia is unique, it's in this way, is that people who are neither citizens nor residents are still part of our society, and we want to engage with them. We want to share our business environment. We want to share our culture and our history with them, to build people to have people who are not Estonian citizens, but who have something in their heart and in their mind that they share with Estonia. So that's why Estonia offers e-Residency. We're often asked, why do you do this? Of course, there are some economic benefits. Direct ones, some taxation, corporate taxation, when companies create and generate value in Estonia, but this is not particularly important compared to all of the business we bring to Estonia. Because when you become a resident, maybe you need a legal advice, you need a tax expert, you need a virtual office. And we put you in touch with a network of Estonian companies which grow bigger, hire more people and develop, and they grow bigger thanks to the services they provide to e-residents. So we fuel the Estonian economy, not with a massive investment plan, but thanks to this idea of opening our digital borders for people around the world. But maybe even more important to that, we bring more people to Estonia, business delegations, political delegations. They want to know more about this success story, how this small country now end up cooperating with many partners around the world, whether they are big companies like Pioneer, for instance, or big organizations like the United Nations Commission on Trade and Development, and how come such a small country is now sharing its expertise and knowledge about digital societies. And even more important than this, we are creating this large community of friends of Estonia. And this is very important because it serves our soft power. Now we contribute to put Estonia on the map. Estonia is more famous around the world. People want to know and share the history of Estonia and its culture, and they want perhaps to promote the country, and our e-residents become the best promoters of a country. So we even believe that in some ways it also improves our national security. So just to summarize, e-Residency really enables the Republic of Estonia to connect with more people around the world. So it creates more prosperity and value to Estonian people, but it also supports our political and our diplomatic goals, and also our national security. So thank you very much for this. I really encourage all of you to join our digital nation. It's a great gateway. It's a great gateway to Europe. But I think we can have a small Q&A session, and please feel free to ask me any kind of question. I will do my best to try to answer to your request. Thank you very much.
Maybe we have time just for one question. Should we have any questions? Just one question. Out here, yes, sir. Just the one question. Please proceed.
Bonjour, Arnaud.
Bonjour.
I work for a French bank, and I was just curious when you're talking about Estonia, and you spoke about e-governance. Just want to understand, how is the banking system there? Is it entirely digitized? Or how is the currency work? Do you use currency, or entire thing is digitized?
So definitely, Estonia has been using e-banking, and Estonians have been using e-banking since the beginning of e-banking in some ways. So people are really used to use this kind of solution, and they use digital for everything. So when you use a digital ID card, it also allows you to access banking services. We have a banking sector like in any European country, with some traditional banks who are supportive of entrepreneurs. and some of the ones who are less supportive of entrepreneurs. But at the same time, we also try to develop our fintech sector because we envision that in the future, much more people will prefer fintech solutions for their banking services. So we have actually one company called Moniz, which is probably the next big unicorn in Estonia. It's an Estonian company, and it's been quite successful, and it has also been launched by Estonian people. But given that we talk about Europe, we wanted that e-residency to be also inclusive with European businesses, which is why e-residents, when they are e-residents, when they want to manage and run their companies, when they need business banking services, they can use and they can pay even a share capital, they can use any bank or any fintech service and company from European countries. So of course we want to support Estonian businesses and Estonian banking sector or fintech sector, but at the same time, given that we want to serve our e-residents in the best way, e-residents can use, and this is something that we it's a law we just made pass at the parliament recently, e-residents can use any bank or any fintech company from European countries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, please do put your hands together and let's give it up for Mr. Arnaud. Thank you so much for joining us out here and for your insightful words and your speech. Fret not, I know many of you out here might still have questions. We have the Estonia team present with us for the networking session towards the evening as well as tomorrow. So should you have any queries and concerns to address to the Estonia team, feel free to do so during the networking hour.